These are important issues, but they're not the main issues. The main issue underlying so much else is the financial abuse and mismanagement by certain leaders of Aboriginal corporations who today are lining their pockets at the expense of their own people. I've been working on collecting the proof about this mismanagement. The fact that several different Aboriginal groups have made the same allegations was enough for me to sit up and pay attention. I want to put it on record that the government needs to investigate these corporations more and stop blindly trusting their report sheets. It was recently reported in the Sydney Morning Herald that the largest Aboriginal corporation in the Kimberley, the Mara Wara Wara Aboriginal Corporation, has not had a valid board of directors since 2017. Even worse, they have not been able to account for more than $28 million. Mr. Paul White from the Department of Communities defrauds the taxpayer of $25 million, and it makes headlines for weeks. Yet this scandal happens with the Mara Wara Wara Aboriginal Corporation, and it barely gets reported in any West Australian newspaper. The Kimberley Land Council sacked its CEO, Mr. Brian Wilkinson, after he pushed for greater transparency of the Council's multi-million-dollar charitable trust. As a member of that region, I can tell you firsthand that the Kimberley Land Council is a crooked organisation that needs a few auditors and investigators to rip right through that place. If we continue to turn the other cheek and allow this behaviour to go on, nothing will change for the Aboriginal people. In the year 2021, for a white person to make a big deal about corruption in any Aboriginal corporation is seen as a racist. It's not about race, Mr. Deputy President. It's about honesty and transparency. The Aboriginal people suffer most from these financial disasters, and this weak state government and even weaker media outlets do nothing about it. In the goldfields, one of the main offenders is Mr. Kado Muir from Leonora. Mr. Muir is the chairman of the National Native Title Council, who is a very wealthy man, and he has his fingers in many government-funded pies. I've been told by many people in the area that he's up to all sorts of tricks. One of his favourite tricks is to create a songline where mining is being proposed. This then requires the mining companies to deal directly with him. If this government and previous governments cannot see what's going on with this system, then you are fools and you do not deserve to be in this chamber. All you have to do is go and speak to the traditional owners on your next trip to the regions, not the ones that are lined up to meet you when you step off the plane. No, just pop into any community unannounced and get a real feel for the hopelessness, the misery, the poverty, and at the same time witness the vandalism and the destruction that goes on due to a lack of jobs and community neglect. The government listens too much to the Kado Muirs and buys the BS when they say they speak on behalf of their communities. Just recently, in the Kimberley Echo, it was reported with joy, Mr. Deputy President, that 60 foreign workers arrived in Kununurra to fill the severely understaffed hospitality and agricultural sector. Thousands are unemployed, and here we are, celebrating giving jobs to foreigners. And then we have this government with our new Aboriginal Affairs Minister, who says to me in this chamber that Aboriginal people don't want white fellas picking jobs for them. I don't want anybody picking a job for me, but the reality is I must work, because that is what society expects. You give me and all my mates a fortnightly pay packet, and guess what? None of us will work. We'll go and sit under a tree and have a drink. Mark my words, this problem will get worse until the government changes its policy. Aboriginal empowerment is not working. The last 2 decades have showed that it's not worked. Stop this idealistic dreaming and get to work. Just because your skin is white does not mean you cannot help Aboriginal people with your own hands. Noted Aboriginal leader and politician Nyongai Warren Mundine commented recently in the Sydney Morning Herald. He said that so long as training programmes are not linked to job retention, and while bureaucrats make excuses for why the unemployed shouldn't have to work, people will continue to languish on welfare in a nation desperate for workers. And he was dead right.